What a treat. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to December the 29th, 2017, this edition of Colorado Inside Out Live, and I haven't said it for a long time. I'm your host, Peter Boyles. That was 2 radio stations ago, and we're getting the band back together again. We're celebrating the end of our historic 25th season with a special look ahead for the 2018 This Is a Deal special guests who've been part of this show for a long, long, long time. And again, introduce our contestants. Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, she is the heart and soul of this radio station, the heart and soul of this television show since its conception. I had to ask. First show, September the 12th, 1992. She has been here for almost every one of them. I love her dearly, immense respect, Patricia Calhoun.
Thanks, Peter.
You look as good as you did the first time. Thanks for doing it. Next, and I always say, it's like when Kennedy said Jefferson dines alone. The smartest guy that's ever been at this table. Ladies and gentlemen, the talented David Kopel.
And he always dines alone.
See, I knew it was going to start. Yeah. My colleague and my friend, Craig Silverman, is here. You joined the show. When did you come on?
1996, after a failed attempt to be Denver DA.
That was it. That's when you came on. Kevin Flynn, of course, is now, because he's transitioned into becoming an Irish politician.
Couldn't find legitimate work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the newspapers weren't bad enough. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my dearest friends and one of the best, Councilman Kevin Flynn, thank you. This man has been in and out of, how many political campaigns do you think you've been part of?
I don't want to count them, but all in the past.
You are now in seclusion, or what?
Yeah, exactly.
Eric Sonderman, what are you doing for real now?
What am I doing for real? Running my mouth, doing some consulting,
That's what I thought.
but no campaigns.
You're out of the campaign industry altogether?
I've been out of the campaign industry a good long time.
Penn's taking your place?
Although I see the money in campaigns these days, and I wonder why.
And last but not least, you know, we've never worked together on this show.
No, we haven't done a show together before.
He is. He's a wonder. He's a good man. I think I first met you. You were running for mayor or governor?
Mayor.
Yeah,
in 2003.
Yeah, and I mean, a decent, good man, Penn Tate. Thanks for doing this as well.
Glad to be here.
It makes me feel really good. Topic 1, jump ball. 2018 will be a big election year in Colorado. The nation will be there as well. Let's start looking at what we think the wave will look like in 18. Who do the Dems bring? Who do the Repubs bring? What happens in Colorado? Ms. Calhoun.
Well, first of all, we're going to have to wait and see if there are any male politicians who can still run, who'll still be around in 2018. Roy Moore will probably still be waiting, challenging the results of the Alabama election. But here in Colorado, we are going to have a wild ride. I don't think what happens nationally with the Democratic wave, which I think will be pretty strong in 2018, I think Colorado will be all about who the gubernatorial candidate is, not the Dems, not the Republicans per se, but who they're going to be.
There's a thing they say at the track, pick 'em. So right now, your best bet, who's against who for the job?
Polis versus Tancredo.
Ooh.
Which would be one of the wildest races ever.
2 out of 3 falls. Loser leaves town in a cage match. Tancredo, Polis. Mm-hmm. David.
All the signs are for an immense Democratic wave. If you look at things like the generic ballot, the Dems are plus 13 in that. In years when we've had Republican waves, like 2010, the advantage in the generic ballot didn't even open up to anything close to that until a couple weeks before the election. We're a year out, and they're like that is either a huge sign or a sign maybe the Dems are peaking too early. That's sort of the only thing that.
But pick the gubernatorial.
Polis and whoever emerges as the guy who can beat Tancredo. I think the Republicans will consolidate.
That's too easy.
As they did last time.
You got to put money on the horse's nose.
No, I don't. We've been through this. The 25th anniversary show says that if you ask me a question, I don't know the answer, or I'm not going to say. I don't know.
It's a prediction, David. It's not your bet in your life here.
The prediction is it will be non-Tancredo. There are half a dozen out there who can establish themselves as the front runner against Tancredo. Whoever that is will win, just like in the last time.
Polis versus the field?
Yeah, Polis versus whoever comes out strong out of the caucuses who can establish themselves as the leaders, just like in the primary 4 years ago when people who say liked Scott Gessler as their favorite said, no, but I'm going to vote for Beaupre because Beaupre is the one guy who's got the best chance of beating Tancredo.
Big man.
I don't think those half a dozen will consolidate. So I predict Tom Tancredo will emerge because the rest will split it up. And Tom Tancredo is a force on the right by himself. Jared Polis probably will emerge. It will be one of the most interesting races ever. But it depends on this blue wave. I see the blue wave coming, but there's a factor called Donald Trump, who's the greatest maker-upper ever. And right now he's down in the polls, but who knows what it will be by next November. If the economy is really good, then maybe Donald Trump will be better regarded. I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that in 2018, Alabama, of all places, will have a Democratic senator. And I think that's going to happen. I think that the blue wave, they talked about New Jersey and Virginia, but look at what happened in Douglas County in Colorado. A conservative district, conservative school board voted out 60-40. I see that blue wave coming.
Kev.
The generic ballot in 538 is a little tighter than David had it. I don't know what your source was, but 538 has it about 11 points, 49 to 38. But there is the question of it peaking a little early. To tell you the truth. And how many times have Democrats said this is our year? We thought we'd take the, we were going to take back the Senate.
But in Colorado, it's the other way around. Republicans have always said it's their year, and it hasn't been their year since.
So you remember when a wave crests too early out from the shore, and it doesn't really reach the sand.
Gubernatorial, pick it.
These fields in both parties are, in my view, so evenly spread, other than in the Republican side, you have Tancredo, who I don't know that I agree. I'd love to know what you meant when you said Trump is the greatest maker-upper, because there's a couple ways you can take that. Okay. But there's a populist streak going through the nation right now, and Tancredo taps into that. But I see Cynthia Kaufman and maybe even Walker Stapleton as the establishment side who can consult. Remember, this state did not go for Trump in the Republican. We were Ted Cruz.
My point.
During the primary
They
season.
couldn't bring Colorado in for Trump.
Exactly. So I don't know that that's a big factor here.
Here's one for Eric, who's, again, one of these guys that reads the tea leaves. One of the guys that got hit the hardest in Alabama was Steve Bannon. Bannon's been whispering in Tancredo's ear. I'm serious. I think it plays out. We're going to stay with the governor for another round as well. You pick him.
I commented at the time that I think Tancredo may want to reassess who he's listening to here, because Bannon, if Bannon can't pull it off in Alabama, where exactly can Bannon pull it off? Roy Moore, of course, is an incredibly damaged goods. Yeah. I think this blue wave, it's going to be like the ocean. It is going to be, the blue is going to be deep, and it is going to be wide, and it is going to sweep across the country in an anti-Trump kind of vote. There's going to be a battle coming this next year for the heart and soul of the Republican Party, because as lots of Republicans who've thrown in with Trump, as they see that election in 2018 looming, they're going to try to put distance between themselves and Trump, which is not what we've seen so far. Gubernatorial race, I actually sort of identify with David here, which is it's silly to predict what we really truly don't know. I'll go out on a limb and say the nominee will not be Tancredo. I think his floor and his ceiling are about the same. He has a floor that he doesn't go beyond, but he also has a ceiling that he doesn't go above, and I don't think the ceiling is high enough. Either Stapleton or Kaufman, maybe slight advantage Kaufman. Democratic side, Polis has all the advantages, but there could be a sleeper, and that sleeper could be Michael Johnston.
Ooh. Yes, sir. Coach?
I see the blue wave also, but I think it means something different in Colorado, because you remember, not only did Republicans go for Cruz, but Democrats went for Bernie Sanders. Yeah. And so I think that is part of more of a populist wave than it is a Democratic wave. So if I had to call it today, I'd say it's Kaufman on the Republican side. I think Tancredo is radioactive. I think the Bannon factor is going to just destroy him with Coloradans, because even Colorado Republicans are not as extreme as Steve Bannon and Donald Trump and that whole batch. So I think Tancredo's out. I think he'll show well initially. He'll probably get 20-some% or something and level off. And I think Kaufman's got the best room to grow. And on the other side, I think it's Lynn for the Democrats. There is a sentiment among Democrats that Jared could win a primary but can't win statewide. And a number of Democrats are concerned that if he's the nominee nominee on the Democratic Party, he loses to anybody but Tancredo.
That's why I'm glad I'm here.
And so I see some movement afoot in the Democratic side to push someone out there other than Jared Polis.
To the best of my knowledge, Cynthia Kaufman doesn't even have a website up. Come back around
Well,
the
it's
table.
still early.
All right.
But let's remember, not the politically connected party members, but everyone else who might go vote in the primary. And people are still peeved over how parties have been mismanaged across the country and here in Colorado. So it may be that some people say, if we don't consolidate behind Cynthia Kaufman, we're not going to win the governor's race. But there are going to be a lot of people who are peeved enough that they're not going to want to listen to what the Republican strategists are saying. They'll go for what they want. We still have to remember that Tom Tancredo got 35% of the vote, over 35%, as an independent.
No, I know.
Running
I know.
against Hickenlooper, who was certainly more centrist than most of the Democrats.
See, I'm with you. Come back around. Bannon is, I don't know if Bannon's damaged goods right now, but they had a lousy candidate in Roy Moore.
They had a as a candidate because Bannon picked him as the candidate. He picked
No,
the worst of
primary.
the possible
they
litter.
picked it. Well, the primaries picked him, but
No, but it was Bannon got involved on Roy Moore's side
I understand
and
that,
put
but-
him. He's
but the voters of Alabama.
Bannon has quite an eye for scurrilous talent, and Tom is not scurrilous.
I was gonna say.
But and there's a lot of ways he's a very strong candidate on paper. He's maybe the most intelligent candidate on either side. He's an outstanding debater. He's very well informed on a multitude of issues. And if you look at his life record, including in Congress, he has a lot going for him as an education reformer. Nobody. His pro-Taiwan work in Congress, the Sudan Peace Act, which he passed in Congress, but partly because of how he presents himself, all anybody knows about him is the immigration issue, and I don't. That has mixed results in Colorado, but it's too much of a one-note thing. And the way he got into this race of Colorado Springs Mayor John Suthers irresponsibly refused to provide police protection for an event that that Tancredo was speaking at, and he's got every right to be mad at that. But that's not a reason to run for governor and be a kamikaze.
let me curveball the table. If you were whispering in somebody's ear, what two things would you tell them to stay away from in Colorado?
Gun control.
There's one. Number two, pot.
Well, Tom has been, to his credit, a courageous leader on that and bucked his party. So,
Yeah.
If he would be talking more about that and less about, the more toxic stuff, he'd be in a stronger position.
Same questions, Craig.
Well, I agree on gun control, and Tom takes away the marijuana issue. A lot of the other Republicans don't. Penfield said that Tom is radioactive. He's active on the radio, and he's not afraid to come on all of our shows.
See?
Cynthia Kaufman, she's been in hiding of late. Donna Lynn, nobody's ever met her. I know you're all in for Donna Lynn, but the rest of us have never met her. Maybe she'll come out of her shell. Cynthia Kaufman was introduced into this race by doing a Channel 4 piece with Sean Boyd, wife of Raj Chauhan, who we should mention here at Colorado Inside Out. And Sean Boyd identified her as pro-choice. Now, I'd vote for a pro-choice Republican, but some of my colleagues wouldn't. That's radioactive to a lot of the Republican Party. And if you think a pro-choice Republican is going to win the nomination, I don't know.
Kev.
One thing that we're leaving out right now that we need to talk about is that this will be the first primary year that unaffiliated voters will have what everybody expects to be a moderating influence on the outcome. So that takes away from the far reaches of the left or the right.
Who do you think? I've had this conversation with people I respect. Who do you think the Democratic Party wants the Republican Party to be the candidate? Who do you think?
Terrible Tom.
Absolutely.
I walked into
Absolutely.
down in my council district. I walked into a Southwest Denver Republican meeting a couple of months ago, and Tom walked right in with me.
Oh.
He's making the rounds.
Absolutely.
He's hitting all the right places where he needs to be. But that's exactly what I think the Democrats want to run against.
They call it Operation Chaos, right? You go in and you pick the other guy.
Exactly.
So don't you think that the Democrats would love?
Oh, of course the Democrats want to run against Tom.
Right.
Penn, and it's not active on the radio. It is. There's a degree of radioactivity. I don't see no scenario, even in a neutral year, in a decent Republican year, that Tom Tancredo can be elected governor of this state. This is a light blue state, but it's going to be a dark blue year. The Republicans are going to have to roll in inside straight for the nomination to be worthwhile for anyone, whether that's Stapleton or Kaufman. If it is Polis has some vulnerabilities that the other Democrats don't have. But if it's deep enough blue, if the blue shade of the year is deep enough, Polis can get elected governor here. The Republicans are about to stay on this losing streak. I mean,
Can I put a twist on that?
Put a twist on it.
How smart was George Brockler to lay out?
Probably smart.
I think so too.
Because this is not a not a Republican year. And the Republicans have only held that governor's office 8 out of the last 44 years.
Oh, I know.
That streak's about to continue.
But Colorado is morphed enormously since John Love, or at that time. By the way, does anybody think that if we ran any of the old Republicans, they'd have a chance?
They couldn't get the nomination with the Republican Party the way it is now.
Exactly.
John Love sure couldn't.
No.
John Vanderhoof couldn't. No, it wouldn't happen. Wouldn't happen. They're too moderate.
Could Roy Romer get it?
Romer could still get a Democratic nomination. He wouldn't get a Republican nomination. No.
No, but could Romer still get the nod if he?
Oh, sure. I think he could.
Okay.
I think he was always progressive enough.
Okay.
And a voracious campaigner. He was good, and he was good with people. So Romer could get that nomination.
Kevin wanted to put it, and then Patty.
I think, sorry to jump in on this, but I think with the Me Too movement, I don't know about Romer, whether his past wouldn't be looked at more tightly than it was before. But don't forget Donna Lynn and Carrie Kennedy in the Democratic field.
That's absolutely right.
And Cynthia Coffin. I think this could be a year that a woman, that we have 2 female candidates for governor.
Ms. Calhoun.
But of course, in the Dems, there are 2 female candidates, so
Yes.
they could wind up canceling each other out. If you want to bring up an old politician who would be perfect now, look at Dick Lamb.
I just gonna bring him up.
Pro-choice, anti-Olympics. We've got another Olympic bid coming.
I just talked to him the other
People
day.
are mad. People are mad about Amazon. Dick Lamb came out against that. They're mad about the Olympics, maybe an Olympic move again. And he really speaks, I think, to Colorado again right
What's
now.
the old biblical line? A prophet in his own land.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I mean, Dick Lamb is my friend and mentor, and that's how I got my start. But with all due respect, he couldn't get a nomination. There is no way in the world
because
Dick
of
Lamb could get
immigration.
He'd be a very fantastic candidate in a general election in this climate, but
He's a
couldn't get
grand-
either party's
He's
nomination.
a grand old man. One addendum, we're going to jump.
No matter how moderate a Republican is, they will be tarred as extremist, and that includes John Love. Great moderate governor. Roy Romer at the time was saying, "Oh, John Love is this crazy Goldwater Republican."